Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to Jinjin's Cosmic. If you didn't happen to be here, perhaps it's time to meet your soul. Dear Libra, come closer and let us speak of a quiet frustration that may live in your heart. There is a sense, isn't there, that your blessings are hiding just out of sight. You see the abundance flowing to others, and you wonder, with your fair and balanced heart, why your own stream seems to trickle when it should be a river. You have worked hard, you have been kind, you have sacrificed, and yet the great wealth of life, not just in coins, but in peace, in recognition, in soul-deep fulfillment, feels like a promise that is always just on the horizon, but never quite arriving. Let me tell you a secret. Your blessings have not gone missing. They have not been given to another. They have been quietly gathering in the corners of your life, where your eyes rarely wander. They are tucked away in places too humble, too challenging, or too familiar for you to recognize their value. Life has taught you to search for treasure in the loud and glittering places, while your true gold waits patiently in the silence. And right now, you are standing closer to it than you have ever been. Today, we will not just look for your wealth, we will uncover the sacred map that leads to it, revealing 8 hidden sanctuaries where your abundance has been resting all along. As you listen, I want you to make a pact with your own soul. Go to the comments and declare this with the full force of your belief. I am a magnet for my own abundance. Write it as if heaven itself is taking notes. Write it so your spirit begins to remember where it buried its own treasure. Stay with me until the end, because when you leave here today, you will not just know that your wealth is near, you will know exactly where to find it. The first sacred space, the unsent invitation, your first hidden wealth, Libra, lives in places your feet have not yet touched, in rooms you have not yet dared to enter. It is not because you are unworthy, and it is not because those places are impossibly far away. In fact, some of them are so close you could reach them with a single decision, but something inside you, a deep-seated hesitation, has kept you waiting. There is a meeting, a gathering, a table where decisions are being made and opportunities are being distributed. And in that room, your name has already been spoken, perhaps by someone who admires you from a distance, perhaps by a voice you didn't even know was paying attention. They have seen your work, your heart, your unique potential to bring balance and beauty. But you are still on the outside, circling the doorway, unsure whether you have the right to knock. Why? Because the ghost of self-doubt whispers that you are not quite ready. Because the fear of disrupting the status quo tells you that you might not belong. Because you, the master of perfect timing, have convinced yourself that the right moment has not yet arrived. But here is the profound truth. The moment will not arrive. You have to arrive. The door you have been waiting for is not locked. It is not even fully closed. It is open just enough for you to see the light spilling out. But you have to be the one to take the step. I once heard of a woman who polished her craft in silence for years, creating beauty that she thought no one saw. She never felt she was important enough to attend the grand industry events. Then one day, a friend dragged her to one. She stood awkwardly in a corner until someone approached her and said, "I know your work, we've been waiting for you." That one room changed the entire trajectory of her life, not because she suddenly became more talented, but because she finally became visible. Libra, sometimes your greatest opportunity is not about a skill you need to learn or a resource you need to gain. It is about visibility. It is about placing yourself where the conversation is happening, where your serene presence can speak louder than any resume. Perhaps that room for you is a new social or professional circle you have been afraid to approach. Perhaps it is an event you have been putting off. Perhaps it is sending that one brave email to someone who could shift your entire path. Understand this. Wealth does not always knock on your door. Sometimes it waits patiently on the other side of a door, waiting for you to knock. And every time you hesitate, you risk someone else taking the seat that had your name on it. But the good news is, that seat is still there. The conversation is still unfolding, and there is still time for you to walk in. This room is not just a physical place. It is a position you've been afraid to apply for, a business opportunity you've overanalyzed, a leadership role in your community where your influence could blossom. Once you step inside, everything changes. You start hearing the information you needed. You start meeting the people who see your worth instantly. You start receiving the offers that could never have found you while you were waiting in the hallway. Your next chapter, your next connection, your next level of abundance is waiting for you just beyond that threshold. The question is not whether the room exists. The question is, will you finally accept the invitation? The second sacred space, the forgotten language. Your second hidden wealth, Libra, is resting quietly in something you once did so naturally it did not even feel like work. It is the gift that once lit up your soul, the creative language that made hours feel like minutes, until the heavy weight of real life pressed you to put it down. Maybe you once wrote words that could move people to tears. Maybe you painted with colors that made walls breathe. Maybe your voice had the power to calm the storms in people's hearts. Maybe your unique ideas could shape the very way others saw the world. But then, something happened. Life demanded survival, not creation. Bills, responsibilities, heartbreaks, disappointments, they all gathered around you like a committee of stern accountants and whispered, "This is not the time for dreams. This is not the time for beauty. You have to be practical now." And so, with a heavy heart, you placed your gift on a high shelf. You told yourself it was only for a season, but that season bled into years. Here is the truth you need to hear today. Your gift never left you. It did not disappear. It did not expire. It has been sitting in the quiet darkness of your soul, like a seed in winter, not dead, but dormant, waiting patiently for you to remember it. You see, wealth is not always found in what you must learn next. Sometimes it is found in what you already carry, but have been taught to ignore. Your innate gift is a key. And right now, there are doors of opportunity in your life that will only open when you use that specific key. Think of a seed, hidden in the soil. It doesn't scream or push. It simply waits for the right conditions to bloom. Your talent is just like that. The moment you give it the right environment, your attention, your faith, your consistency, it will come back to life, stronger and more vibrant than before. Libra, the world is different when you use the gift that was placed in your soul from the beginning. That gift was never meant to be just a hobby. It was never just something you're good at. It is a divine channel for your abundance, financial abundance, emotional abundance, and spiritual abundance. It is one of the primary ways heaven planned to provide for you, to set you apart, and to make your life overflow with purpose. Do you know why it still comes to your mind after all these years? Because it is a part of your true identity. Even if you try to silence it, it will whisper to you when you are alone. It will visit you in your dreams. It will remind you of the moments when you felt most truly, authentically alive. This is the season to pick it back up. Not tomorrow, not when things finally settle down. Now, if you feel rusty, allow yourself to be imperfect. If you feel nervous, let your hands tremble as you create. If you feel like no one will care, remember that the right people are already waiting for the very thing that only you can give. The forgotten language of your soul is not just a skill. It is a vital section of your personal wealth map. And until you begin to speak it again, a significant portion of your abundance will remain hidden in plain sight. The third sacred space, the ghost of a connection. Your third hidden wealth, Libra, is not buried in the ground or locked in a vault. It is living and breathing, walking this earth right now. It exists in the form of certain people you already know, but whose true value you may have forgotten. Some people are gold mines in human form, not because of what they can hand you physically, but because of what they carry inside. Wisdom you cannot find in books, experience you cannot buy, and connections that can form a bridge to your next season of life. There is someone whose path once crossed yours in a way that felt divinely timed. Maybe they offered you encouragement at your lowest point. Maybe they saw and believed in your potential when no one else did. Maybe they opened a door for you once before, and now, without you even realizing it, they may hold the key to another one. But here is the challenge. Life got busy. You moved forward. They moved forward. And the sacred space between you widened. Perhaps there were misunderstandings. Perhaps pride built a silent wall where there should have been a bridge. Or perhaps, most commonly for a Libra who avoids imposition, you simply let time pass, thinking you would reconnect one day. Libra, this is your divine reminder. Sometimes, your greatest breakthrough is not in meeting new people, but in remembering the ones who saw your light before you fully believed in it yourself. The ones whose advice could save you years of wandering. The ones whose simple belief in you could be the wind beneath your wings. I am not talking about chasing after every old acquaintance. I am talking about being intentional and prayerful about the sacred connections that were planted in your life for a reason, but have been left untended. Relationships are like gardens. If you neglect them, the flowers wither and the weeds of silence grow. But with one single act of care, one thoughtful conversation, one gesture of remembrance, they can bloom again, more beautifully than before. This is not about using people. It is about recognizing that divine connections are a vital part of your wealth map. The universe often sends its blessings through human hands. And sometimes, the person meant to carry your next opportunity is someone you already know. Think about it. A mentor whose voice still echoes in your mind. A friend with whom you once dreamed and planned. A relative who holds more wisdom than you have been willing to admit. Someone who quietly respects you from a distance, but has been waiting for you to make the first move. Do not let pride hold you back from sending a message that says, "I was thinking of you." Do not let the fear of rejection stop you from rekindling something valuable. Do not let the excuse of busyness convince you that connection can wait. Your next open door could be on the other side of a simple message, a phone call, or a shared cup of coffee. And when you walk through that door, you will realize the wealth was not only in the opportunity they brought, the wealth was also in the resurrection of the relationship itself. Do not underestimate the profound power of reuniting with the right person at the right time. Some relationships are like wells. Once you draw from them again, you find cool, clear water that refreshes not only your path, but your entire spirit. The fourth sacred space, the dream in the margins. Your fourth hidden wealth, Libra, lives in the quiet, dusty corners of your own mind. It resides in those brilliant thoughts that came to you like sparks in the night, only to fade because you quickly and politely brushed them aside. Ideas are not accidents, dear Libra. They are seeds of possibility planted directly into your spirit, often long before you feel you are ready to see their full harvest. Every person who has ever built something meaningful, be it wealth, influence, or a lasting legacy, will tell you this one profound truth. Ideas are a form of currency. They can be exchanged for opportunities, transformed into movements, and turned into a future far greater than your present reality. But here is the challenge for a soul like yours. Most divine ideas do not arrive looking grand and perfectly balanced. They come in whispers. They appear in the quiet moments when you are walking alone or lying awake at night. They seem random. Sometimes they even feel unrealistic or disruptive. And that is precisely where so many people miss their chance. They dismiss the thought as too small, too strange, too risky. They say, "Who would care about this?" Or, "How could this ever possibly work?" And so, the idea is shelved, left to collect dust in the margins of a notebook, a forgotten dream. But Libra, your greatest wealth is often hidden inside the very idea you think is impossible. The very thing you believe is too crazy, too ambitious, or too out there could be the very thing that shifts your life forever. History is filled with irrefutable proof. The biggest businesses began as visions no one believed in, except the one person who dared to act. The most life-altering inventions were born out of ideas that seemed foolish to everyone else at the time. The movements that shook nations began with one person bravely saying, "I see something that others cannot see yet." And here is the spiritual truth of it. Not every idea is meant for everyone. Some are sent specifically to you, because only you possess the unique combination of grace, vision, and determination to carry it through. That is why, when you ignore it, you feel a subtle ache inside, a quiet sense of misalignment. It is your spirit recognizing that a divine assignment has been left unanswered. Maybe it is a business concept you have scribbled down and never shared. Maybe it is a story you have imagined but never written. Maybe it is a service or a product you have dreamed of offering, but you told yourself it wouldn't work in this economy or in this season of your life. Libra, you do not have to know every single step before you begin. An idea does not need to be perfect to be powerful. It just needs you to believe in it, enough to take the first imperfect step. Someone else out there could be praying for the very solution you are carrying in your mind. Someone's problem could be solved by your unique vision. Someone's burden could be lifted because you finally acted on what you have been dismissing. Do not let the fear of failure or the weight of "what if it doesn't work?" stop you. Instead, dare to ask, "But what if it does?" Because when it does, you will look back and realize the very wealth you were seeking was never far away. It was sitting inside that one brilliant idea you almost let slip away. Go back to your journals, your old notes, your daydreams. Look again at the thoughts you pushed aside. Some of them are not just thoughts. They are invitations from the universe. And the moment you say yes to them, you unlock a door to an abundance you didn't even know was there. The fifth sacred space, the altar of your scars. This next truth, Libra, is not an easy one to face, but it is essential for your journey. Your fifth, and perhaps most profound, hidden wealth is buried inside the very pain you have tried so hard to forget. You have been taught by the world to move on, to get over it, to keep walking without ever looking back. But the truth is, the wounds you carry, the heartbreaks, the losses, The betrayals, the disappointments, are not just marks of suffering, they are the sacred marks of your survival. And within those marks, there is immeasurable value. Your scars are not just reminders of what hurt you, they are proof of what you overcame. They hold lessons that no university could ever teach. They have gifted you with a depth of empathy that no training could ever instill, and they have forged a strength in your spirit that no easy path could ever build. The very experiences that you thought broke you have been shaping you into a voice, a guide, a creator, or a leader that others, who are now walking through their own fires, desperately need. Think about it. A woman walks through the storm of a painful divorce. At the time, she feels it is the end of her life as she knew it. But instead of letting that pain define her, she finds a way to transform her story into a source of light for others. Today, she runs a coaching business that helps thousands heal from heartbreak, rebuild their self-worth, and step into new, empowered chapters. What she thought was her deepest wound became the foundation of her purpose and her greatest source of wealth. Or consider the man who lost his father far too soon. His grief was a heavy cloak, and for a long time he couldn't see beyond it. But eventually, he decided to honor his father's memory by starting a foundation. That foundation now funds the education of hundreds of children who would otherwise have no chance at a better life. His personal pain became a bridge for others, and in turn, it became a river of blessings that continues to flow back to him. Libra, your pain is not a dead end. It is a mind full of gold, waiting to be refined. It is wisdom that has been carved into the very fabric of your soul. It is compassion that has been woven into your being. It is a resilience that has been built into your spirit. And when you choose to heal not by forgetting, but by transforming, you tap into a form of wealth that never runs out. The wealth hidden inside your pain may take many forms. It could be a message you are meant to share with the world through writing or speaking. It could be a business or a service that helps others navigate the same struggle. It could be art, music, or poetry that gives a beautiful voice to emotions that others feel but cannot express. It could be a form of leadership that is uniquely powerful because it is shaped by the empathy you have gained from walking through fire. Here is the spiritual truth. Pain, when healed and offered in service, becomes power. It becomes a testimony that not only inspires others, but also opens doors, creates opportunities, and draws resources toward you. Because people are drawn to those who have walked through darkness and still, somehow, carry the light. So, do not run from the memories you have been avoiding. Instead, sit with them. Listen to them. Ask yourself, what did this teach me? How can this help someone else? How can this become a seed instead of a chain? Because when you do, you will see what was always true. The wound was never meant to be the end of your story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, where your wealth, your purpose, and your healing finally meet. Your pain is not your prison, dear Libra. It is your refining fire. And when you allow it to shape you, you will discover that the very thing you thought would break you has been quietly preparing to bless you all along. The sixth sacred space, the unremarkable seed. Your sixth hidden wealth, Libra, is not hiding in something grand or obvious. It is not waiting behind the largest gate, with crowds watching and trumpets announcing your arrival. It is resting quietly behind a small, unassuming door that most people walk past without even noticing. Sometimes, the greatest wealth hides in the smallest of beginnings. It could be that part-time project you have been treating as just something on the side. It could be that tiny online store you opened without much expectation. It could be that one video you posted without thinking too much about it, or the one book you started writing but never finished. It could be a single conversation that seemed too ordinary to matter. Here is the mystery. The universe often hides the greatest abundance in the smallest of seeds. Why? Because seeds are a test of your faith. They test your willingness to nurture something before it looks like anything of value. They test your ability to believe in a future harvest when all you can currently see is a patch of soil. Think about the mustard seed. It is so tiny, it could rest unnoticed in the palm of your hand. And yet, when planted and tended, it grows into a tree large enough to shelter and provide for many. Your small door is like that. It does not look like much now, but it may carry the key to a life you have been praying for. Many people miss this kind of opportunity because they are looking for a big break. They want something dramatic, instant and undeniable. But life rarely works that way. The big break is often the result of a long series of small, consistent steps that no one was clapping for at the time. Libra, I want you to think carefully about what you have been underestimating in your own life. That side hobby you have been downplaying could one day become your main source of income. That volunteer work you see as just helping out could open doors to powerful partnerships and influence. That small audience you have been speaking to could grow into a community that changes your life. The beauty of the small door is that it is often unguarded. It does not require you to prove yourself to the world before you can enter. It simply requires you to be faithful with what is already in front of you. And when you walk through it with consistency, humility, and vision, you find that the key it carries opens far more than just one lock. It opens an entire path you could have never drawn on your own. Think about a single conversation with the right person, one you might be tempted to take lightly. That one talk could lead to an introduction. That introduction could lead to a collaboration. That collaboration could lead to an opportunity that shifts everything. All from one small, unremarkable beginning. Libra, I want you to see the profound beauty in starting where you are, even if it feels small. Because when you honor the small door, you discover that it is not just an entrance, it is a test, a seed, and a divine promise, all in one. So, stop overlooking it. Put your hand on the handle. Step inside. You may find that the little thing you start now will multiply beyond your wildest imagination and become the very thing you have been searching for all along. The seventh sacred space. The edge of your comfort. Your seventh hidden wealth, Libra, is waiting for you in a place you have been actively avoiding. Not because it is wrong for you, but because it makes you profoundly uncomfortable. Because the very thought of stepping into it stirs something deep in your chest, a volatile mix of excitement and fear. Fear is one of the most common hiding places for wealth. Not because fear itself holds any blessings, but because fear acts like a locked gate, standing directly in front of the very places where your blessings have been stored. Think about it. The difficult conversation you keep postponing because you fear conflict could be the very conversation that heals a relationship and unlocks a new level of intimacy and support. The public speaking opportunity you have been resisting because you fear judgment could be the stage that puts your name and your message in the minds of people who can change your life. The business negotiation where you are afraid to ask for what you are truly worth could be the one that finally breaks a cycle of under-earning. And the decision to leave a situation that is comfortable but draining could be the very act that opens up the space for your spirit to finally breathe and your opportunities to multiply. Fear, for a Libra, often disguises itself as wisdom or prudence. It sounds like, now isn't the right time. It feels like overthinking and analysis paralysis. But if you listen closely to the whispers of your soul, you will notice that often the place you are most afraid to go is the very place your spirit has been gently nudging you toward. You see, fear does not just try to keep you safe from danger, it also tries to keep you safe from growth. But growth is never comfortable, and wealth, in all its forms, almost always sits just outside your comfort zone. The truth is, Libra, that your fear can be a compass. If you feel a deep, persistent pull towards something, especially if it scares you, it is a powerful sign that there is treasure on the other side of it. Your heart knows it. Your intuition knows it. But your fear, with its logical and compelling arguments, is trying to convince you to stay where it is safe and predictable. And here is the thing. Safe is not where you are meant to stay forever. Some doors only open when you show up in courage. Some opportunities only appear when you take the first step, even if your hands are trembling. Think of the times in your past when you pushed through fear. Remember how, once you were on the other side, you realized it was not as impossible as it had seemed. You not only survived, you grew, and each time, something valuable came from it. The place you feared to go could be physical, like a new city. It could be a social space, like a networking event, or, most often for you, it could be an inner place, facing a hard truth you have been avoiding, having a conversation that threatens the balance, or taking on a challenge you have told yourself you are not qualified for. Every time you avoid where your spirit is guiding you, you take one step away from the treasures stored there. But every time you face that fear and walk toward it, you move one step closer to the abundance that is meant for you. This is your reminder. The fear you feel is not a wall. It is a doorway. And the key is your courage. The 8th sacred space. The sanctuary of stillness. And finally, Libra, your 8th, and perhaps most overlooked hidden wealth, is not found in hard work or endless activity. It is not waiting for you in the rush, the noise, or the constant movement of your days. It is waiting for you in the quiet you have been so skillfully avoiding, in a world that screams for your attention, that demands you be always on, always speaking, always moving, always reacting. Silence has become the rarest of commodities. And yet, it is in the sanctuary of stillness that the clearest instructions for your life are whispered. When you sit still, you begin to hear a guidance that is impossible to catch when you are running from one thing to the next. You notice doors that were already open, but went unseen because you were too busy looking elsewhere. You sense your next right step, not with your logical mind, but with your intuitive spirit. Many of the most successful, wise, and spiritually fulfilled people on this planet will tell you this. Their greatest decisions, their biggest breakthroughs, their most life-changing ideas came not when they were chasing something, but when they paused, in stillness. The noise of other people's opinions and expectations fades away. In stillness, your own inner compass becomes louder and clearer, and in stillness, the voice of the divine is easier to recognize. But silence can be deeply uncomfortable, especially for a Libra. It forces you to face the thoughts you have been ignoring. It brings you closer to the feelings you have been pushing away. It strips away all the distractions, leaving you with only the truth of your own heart. And sometimes, that truth is hard to look at. That is why so many people, and especially you, avoid it. Yet, what you have been avoiding may be the very thing that would unlock your clarity, your peace, and your next great opportunity. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. It is full of visions. It is full of the kind of wealth that must begin inside you before it can ever manifest around you. There is a kind of wisdom that can only be accessed when the world is turned down and your spirit is tuned in. There is a kind of creativity that only flows when your mind is not crowded with the demands of others. There is a kind of strength that grows when you stop rushing long enough to let your soul truly breathe. Make space for it. Step away from the noise. Turn off the voices that drown out your own. Find a place where you can simply be without the need to perform, respond, or prove anything. When you allow yourself to be still, you will see the connections you missed, the opportunities you overlooked, and the solutions that were always within your reach. And slowly, the scattered pieces of your life will begin to make a beautiful, harmonious sense in a way they never could when you were running. Your greatest wealth may be hidden in that 1 hour of stillness you have been putting off. In the quiet, your heart will speak, your mind will clear, and your next chapter will come into view. The map was always within you, Libra. Now, all you have to do is be still enough to read it.